Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit the subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Now today, the teachers in Oklahoma all walked out, and apparently all schools will be closed on Tuesday due to the walkout. Why did thousands of teachers across the entire state walk out, much like they did in West Virginia? Because they're not getting paid, just like the teachers in West Virginia. The teachers in Oklahoma, their pay ranks 49th in the country. 49th. There's only one state worse. And that's pathetic. So these teachers have walked off the job. They are taking to the streets, they are striking, and they are saying that they are not going back until they get the pay raise they deserve. Now, these teachers did have a pay raise in a bill that was just passed, but it wasn't very substantial, at least compared to the work they're having to do. And it's led to a lot of problems for teachers in Oklahoma. First off, they're having to work 2, 3, sometimes even 4 jobs to make ends meet. Because if you have a full-time job like teaching, you don't have time to go get another full-time job. So you have to mix and match other part-time jobs to hopefully make ends meet. This means less time with their families, less time being able to prepare for their classes, and less time for them to be a good teacher. These people don't go and become teachers so they can live poor. They shouldn't have to. Teachers do a lot of work. They do more work than many of you could ever imagine. If you're not a teacher, maybe you don't understand what they go through, what they deal with. But I've had lots of friends that were teachers. I have friends on Facebook who are still teachers. And some of them are very smart, very bright people. They are great teachers. They are really good to their students. And I'm proud to know them. But the fact is, they're getting the shaft in many states across this country. Oklahoma being one. Texas here is not much better. I know teachers that have had to, you're going to sit there and say they live above their means. But I have teacher friends that are still driving the same car they were driving in 2000. People still living in, teachers that have been working 20, 30 years. Still living in houses that they can't, one, they're still having to rent, or two, they'll never dream of paying it off. And they end up getting foreclosed on, some of them. Now, if you're lucky to have a spouse that happens to have a job that actually pays them the money they deserve, then maybe as a teacher, you can survive. But what happens if you don't have that spouse? What happens if you lose that spouse for some reason? They're not able to sustain themselves. They're not able to sustain their families. And that's just one thing. But then again, you shouldn't have to rely on your spouse for an income. People go to college for 4 years plus to become teachers. Not only do they have to do their certification to start, they have to keep it up. They have to go back every so often and renew their certificate. If they have to keep going back and there's no money and they have to save that money, they're not really saving anything, are they? They're not really earning anything. Now, I've heard some schools will pay for that kind of stuff if you have to, renew something or go for extra training or whatever. I've heard some schools will cover that. But a lot of states, it doesn't happen that way. Teachers should not be paid poverty wages. Teachers should not have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs to survive. It's a sad state of affairs here in America when that's the case. These teachers in Oklahoma have walked out, not because they don't care about the students or not because they don't want to do their job, but because they deserve to be paid more for their job. We've got people out in Hollywood making $1 million an episode. You got football players making millions a year just to sit on the bench, some of them. Yet we pay teachers chump change. I've known teachers that make less than $20,000 a year for all the hard work they do. And I'm sorry, if you work from 7, 8 in the morning till 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, there's no reason you should live in poverty. I don't care what job you have. I don't care if it's basket weaving. You shouldn't have to live in poverty. You shouldn't need federal assistance to feed your family or feed yourself. You shouldn't have to constantly downgrade because the state cuts your pay repeatedly every single year. I saw a story yesterday that it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. A teacher, coach, doesn't make enough in the state of Oklahoma to feed his family. He has to work 2 extra jobs, 3 extra jobs sometimes, just to get the bills paid. He said he's missed a lot of very important dates with his daughter, and he's starting to miss them with his younger child as well, because he's constantly having to work. He never gets time. He's there. He works all day. He's also a part-time bus driver, and then other jobs he does on the weekend. Also, I mean, as a teacher, you shouldn't have to go work 8, 9, 10-hour days just to go serve drinks at a bar later on. That was also in a story I saw yesterday. So the teachers in Oklahoma have walked out. And I support them completely. 100% support these teachers. Because teachers do work that a lot of people would never imagine. They're sometimes there at 7 o'clock in the morning. They're there sometimes to 8, 9 o'clock at night, depending on the teacher. I had a home health worker for about 15 years whose original job was teaching. She hardly ever got paid a cent. It didn't seem like she got paid enough to cover insurance and her car payment and her rent. Never had enough money for saving or anything like that. Constantly got paid garbage, even though she was doing a lot of work. One of the first in, one of the last to leave. She would stay until the doors were closed and locked. Yet, the respect she got was little pay. Poverty wages is what a lot of teachers are being paid. She had years and years of experience too, so don't be like, oh, well, she must have just been a new teacher. No. Years and years of experience. Years of experience. And no pay raises, no extra pay, nothing like that. I have other teacher friends I know, friends of mine that have been teachers for years, that are really good people. They care about the children, and they can't make ends meet sometimes. I've got a few friends on Facebook that are teachers. They love their kids. They go every day, whether or not they really feel good to do it, whether they feel like they're being respected or not for with their paycheck. But they still show up to work. These teachers, they sit there. They have to plan their classes. They have to grade papers. They have to go through and make sure everything's right, just right, for the next day. But how is a teacher supposed to prepare for their next day and get all their papers graded and all the stuff they have to do if they have to work 3 or 4 jobs? How are they going to have time to be a really good teacher? Think about it. If you're constantly having to work multiple jobs, you're not going to have time to dedicate yourself to what you do, to your main job. If you're having to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, your focus on your main job is going to be taken away. It's going to be hurt. Because you're going to be tired. You're going to make mistakes. You can end up being more grumpy in class and end up, lashing out at some point. You can end up yelling at a kid when you didn't mean to. I got yelled at by a teacher when I lived up in Dallas because she just lost it. I didn't even do anything that day. I asked for a restroom pass. And she lost her mind. She started screaming and ranting and raving about how little she gets paid and how she shouldn't have to put up with it. So I know it happens. But these teachers deserve your respect. We live in a day and age where parents blame the teacher when their child does something wrong at school. They blame the teacher. So they're disrespected on that front. When I was a kid, if the teacher called my mom and said, "Jacob did this," my mom did not respond with, "Well, it must be your fault." No, my mom responded with, "I'll take care of it." And I would have to face my mother for my actions in school. So, to the teachers out there that are teaching these students and busting your ass every single day to get it done, I want to say thank you. You have my utmost respect, and I support you 100% in your quest for better pay. And I think everyone else should support our teachers as well. That's all I have for you. I've been your host, Jacob Keck. This has been The Big Ranch Show. I'll see you down the road.